Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, maybe a different time for you. Welcome to another interesting episode and content-filled episode of Candid Conversations about Network Marketing. Hi, my name is BK, and as usual, on the other end, our co-host, Dr. Wayne. Hi, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, BK. Hi, everyone.
And because we have show notes, those of you who have caught the previous episodes, we do have show notes. If you want the show notes, you want to follow along as you listen to this, then hop on to networkmarketerpodcast.com. networkmarketerpodcast.com. You can actually just access the show notes from there. And of course, we also have the back episodes archived inside that particular site as well. So do check us out over there, and you can get access to the show notes. And because we have show notes, we have kind of stopped asking Dr. Wayne, hey, so what are we going to talk about today?
Very true. So we're not going to ask it. So, but last time, I'd like to go through each podcast with what we went through last time, because each podcast that we do is very important in terms of the way we put it together. And if you didn't catch last time, please go into our archives and find it, because it does make a lot more sense when we're moving forward into this next one. However, each one is individual, that's for sure. But I do like to go through what we went through last time. So last time we spoke about how your thoughts dictate your future, and we went deep into this by understanding the law of correspondence. Now, this is the second immutable law, and remembering immutable means it can't be changed. And remembering also what that means is, though, even though it can't be changed, like gravity, if we work with it, we can actually learn to fly in terms of within an aeroplane, so to speak. So when we talk about the law of correspondence, we learned that what we're meaning here is as above, so below, as below, so above. And we looked at the law of correspondence in terms of telling us that our outer world is nothing more than a reflection of our inner world. As within, so without. And in all cases, our outer world reflects our inner world in every way, shape, and form. And if we desire change in our outer world, we must first change our inner world and our thoughts and our beliefs and our attitudes. And we went really deep into that, within the last podcast. And I even talked about a quote by Wayne Dyer: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at can change. And then we went even deeper into how you can actually change your thoughts, therefore aligning yourself with the law of correspondence. And we did this through mindfulness. And we went through different ways to do that as well. So by all means, if you didn't catch last podcast, it's there for you in the archives. Enjoy. And what we're going to move now into is the understanding the law of vibration. So anything you want to go through there, BK, before we move on to the third immutable law of the law of vibration?
I think the universe was telling you that I have something to chime in here. Because I actually did. So while Dr. Wayne was talking about this, it kind of reminded me of a conversation I was having with a friend yesterday about, this typical thing where if one person treats you in a certain way, or if one person reacts to you in one way, perhaps it might be the other person's fault. But if everybody treats you in the same way, or you encounter the same kind of reactions from almost everybody, then you kind of need to realize that it might be your fault. So as within, so without, right? A lot of times, if the world always seems to bring to you difficult people or nasty people or people who seem to be very problematic, so to speak, in your view, perhaps you need to look at yourself. There might be something that needs to be done. And sometimes I think that is a way of... So it's interesting because how we look at ourselves or how we are thinking all the time can actually echo out to the world. And then it kind of brings that kind of energy back to you, right? So when you want to change the outward appearance of your circumstance, sometimes you need to look within first. And I think that's why this law of correspondence is so interesting for me. Yeah.
It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. Like the same thing. A couple of days ago, I was watching a show on TV, and one of the gentlemen was basically just being really angry. You could see his anger building up because he was stressed. He was just stressed to the max, angry, angry, angry. And during that, he was releasing a whole lot of superlatives. So he was swearing his head off. And within probably about 30 seconds, he bangs his head. So he swears a little bit more. And then after a little bit longer, then he is still swearing about him banging his head. And then he actually fell over and hurt his knee. And it was kind of like this whole thing that was happening. And his world was basically collapsing around him, but he really didn't know that he was actually creating it. And that's what this law of correspondence is all about. And importantly, if we go back two podcasts, we talked about the first immutable law. Then we talked about the second immutable law. And each of these laws are important to understand in their individualism, but it's also important to understand how they stack on top of each other. Some would say that they're similar, yes, but they are different, yes. And the third immutable law, meaning which is the law of vibration, and as we are what BK just said then and what I just talked about then with regards to as we send out these thoughts, they actually go out in a vibrationary frequency. So the third universal law tells us that nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. So therefore, the third and last of the immutable laws, remember there's 7, 3 are immutable and 4 are mutable, which means we can change them or help to create what we want from understanding those mutable laws, tells us that, this is the immutable third law, tells us that the whole universe is but vibration. And science has confirmed that everything in the universe, including ourselves, is pure energy vibrating at different frequencies. And this is what we want to do now is go into this in a lot deeper understanding. And this is really where every one of you have come across and you've probably heard of the law of attraction. And this is what the law of attraction is based on. It's based on this like energy attracts like energy. Everything that we experience with our 5 physical senses is converted through these vibrations. And as I used just before, the example of someone who is angry and then unfortunately becomes angrier and angrier because they're now creating their world of hurt around them. Unfortunately, the reason I'm using unfortunate is because people just don't know that they're doing it. And when you look at science, it confirms that and affirms that 90% of our thoughts are basically what we think about in the past. And these then send out these vibrationary frequencies. So from there, say, for example, I'll talk about it in a health relationship, and then we'll talk about it in terms of how we then can create our world of abundance in a network marketing realm. So from a vibrationary frequency, our body, when we are in incredible health, we vibrate between 62 and 72 megahertz. And what happens is when we're in gratitude and unconditional love and we're happy and we're joyful and we just love life, the amount of energy, the frequency that we are then generating is around about 500 hertz. So these energies now are very real and very measurable. So think of it like the higher the frequency or the higher the frequency means that you're now emitting love or gratitude or a higher sense of we'll just use the word, a word, but what that word The word doesn't mean anything unless it has an emotion behind it. However, if we are now at a lower frequency of, say, hate or disdain or loathing or what's another one? Shame, for example, these may actually be vibrating at a frequency of only 50 hertz. So what happens, the reason this is really important, understanding it from a physical body point of view, because ancient medicines, the ancients also talk about that the light of the universe, or another way of putting it, your dreams, your why, your goals will not enter the physical realm unless the physical body is healthy or cleansed. Or at least we're trying to do the right thing by way of food and water and exercise and sleep and all the things that we know that we should be doing. So when the physical body is vibrating at a frequency that is lower than 62 megahertz, yes, it may bring about disease and disharmony, but the major thing I want to bring about from an understanding point of view now is that what it does, it also cannot allow your dreams and your goals to come back to you because the frequencies are so low. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense there, BK. There's, in terms of...
I think it's fascinating, right? I mean, we in our lingo or in our language, we have statements that are like this. Like, I feel a bit down today, right? And it's interesting because intuitively, then you kind of know that your frequencies are really down, really low, right? And you're not at the right frequency. I've always been, I did the linguistic studies in the university, so it's been one of my pet love subjects, right? So I really like words and how sentences are put together. And when you look at the language of a culture, you kind of also really appreciate the culture. And in our common language, you realize that there are a lot of things that kind of suggest universal laws and truths to us as well. So when you say that, I'm feeling a bit down today, you literally are a little bit down. Your vibrations are down, and that's why you are feeling that way.
Yes. And remembering a lot of this, even though we just said that, we don't actually really know that we just said that. So what do I mean by that? Even yesterday, I was talking to someone yesterday, and I asked a very direct question. And the direct question was, on a positive note, how do you feel today? The immediate response was, I'm a bit low today. I just don't feel myself. Now, that wasn't what I asked. So the intent of my question was to bring about a positive response. And even though the person prior to that, say about 2 minutes to that, actually said that they were feeling better in all different ways, when I asked that direct question, they contradicted themselves because of programming. We'll just put it down to programming, or their vibrational frequencies that they're used to being putting out every day, unfortunately, is of the negative, but they don't know. And when they're asked a very direct question in the positive, they'll actually kind of like default to the negative, which is quite interesting when you look at it. And it's fascinating when you catch yourself. So the major goal here is to catch yourself and being aware of what type of frequency, what type of vibration, what type of thought you're actually putting out to the universe. And another way that I like people to think of the law of attraction, and we've talked about the law of attraction, we've talked about goal setting and finding your why before, and we've also talked about that unfortunately a lot of people fail at goal setting, finding their why, and understanding the law of attraction because of the law of resistance. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into the law of resistance now, but basically it says as you want something in your life, you'll actually resist it and therefore not attract it into your life. So you may have heard of what you resist in your life persists, unfortunately. And it's one of the major laws that you have to really understand. But going back to what I was talking about is when we don't know that these vibrationary frequencies are being put out by our subconscious, what happens is we actually create the world that we want, but it's of 90% negative. And what happens, another way of looking at it, where your body is now, where your reality is now in terms of finances, relationship, and health, is the direct relationship of what your thoughts were in the past. So another way that I like people to think about it is that where you are right now, in all those aspects I just talked about, is your past thinking. So this is why a lot of people then don't think, oh, look at this, my goal hasn't been achieved. The things that I've put out for the law of attraction to bring back to me hasn't worked, is because what they're doing is they're basing their reality right now on past. What you have to do is allow your reality to be of the future. And I think something interesting that just happened before I sent BK the show notes, and I and I was meditating just before a BK, and I actually put a future date on it. So I was in the future.
Dr. Wayne is living in the future, which is fine. And then for him, the future is the present. He was trying to compress time.
Compress time, that's it. Yeah.
I think what is very fascinating about what Dr. Wayne just said is that perhaps from my own experience, I can honestly share that for all of you listening out there, just understand and trust that it's a process. It may not happen straight away. It's a process. And I was just telling, and I shared with Dr. Wayne many, many times, because I've been working with him and I've been learning from him and so on. And I kind of said that one of the most obvious thing I've noticed about myself is that I am now becoming very aware of awareness, of like what am I thinking about now, and the things that are going through my mind. And it's becoming like it's more second nature now to be very aware of what I'm thinking about. But it wasn't always like that, The mind will just wander and go all over the place, right? But nowadays, I find that I'm very much more aware of what I'm aware of, if you know what I mean. So I know what I'm thinking of at this point in time. I know that, if there's a certain emotion, good or bad, it comes to mind, and I'm actually more in control of what I'm thinking about. And it came with time and with some effort to kind of get into this. So those of you who are listening to us now, I know if you are just starting out on this journey, it doesn't feel like second nature. Trust the process. Give yourself time. It will happen. And of course, you can check some of the earlier episodes where Dr. Wayne talks about other things like meditation and, centering yourself, and all these things would help. And of course, listening to this podcast would also help in that sense. And it has helped me as well, right? That is the thing. And like what he was saying just now about your current situation, is kind of like the old saying, you judge a tree by its fruits, right? So the fruits that is being born now, the fruits that the tree has born has given fruit now is obviously has taken time. So if you have been watering the tree well, you've been giving it enough sunlight, you have been making sure that the environment is all right, then when it comes time to harvest the fruit, obviously you have very tasty, delicious, healthy food, right? Fruit. But if the conditions were not right a few months prior, or maybe even years before that, then the fruit that you'll be getting would not be ideal. And that is the same for us. So where we are today is the result, a combination of past decisions and past thinking or thought processes, right? Yes. But I always also like to quote one of my favorite speakers, Jim Rohn. He says that direction determines destination. So where you direct yourself today will decide your eventual destination, right? And we as human beings are the only ones in the world that can do that. And don't waste that superpower we have.
And it is a superpower. It's a huge superpower. And maybe to put this into context so we can understand it at another level. So say, for example, right now, you want to become a triple diamond or one of the highest ranks in your network marketing business. And right now, you might even not even be in the executive ranks. You might have just started out and you're wanting to become that network marketer where you have passive income of, say, maybe we're going to start at $1,000 a month, and you'd be very happy with that. And of course, you'd be very happy if it was actually more than that. But right now, that's not where your reality is. However, can it be a goal? Can it be something that you write down? Can it be part of your why? Most definitely it can be. However, the major theme to get to understand here, and as BK just mentioned, is that the fruit where you are now was determined 2, 3, 4 years ago, which means that maybe where you are now, the fruit is not as good as what you would like. However, if you put that same amount of time in and say it might take 3 or 4 years of retraining the mind, allowing yourself to subconsciously change, and there's 2 words that humans really don't like. One is fear and one is change. And you put them together, most humans are fear of change. We really don't like change and we fear it. However, if we can embrace it and if we can actually look at it from a different angle, then what can happen is we can actually now, rather than it be 3 or 4 years and we're at that top executive rank, we can compress time because you've actually understood these laws, and you might actually achieve that in 2 years. And you might even be surprised. It's not $1,000 a month. It might be 3 or 4 or 5 or 10,000 a month. These things are real, as we know, because we already have people who are achieving this in your business. It's like the 4-minute mile that a lot of people speak about. Before the 4-minute mile was run, no one could do it. After that, everyone can do it. So at least in our business, in our network marketing business, or even any small business, but I'll go back to network marketing, we have executive ranks in our people in our network marketing business that is earning a lot of money. So we do have that 4-minute mile example, for example. So to put this into another framework of understanding in terms of the law of attraction, in terms of the law of vibration, what I want you to think of is we have to have an intent that is direct. The neocortex, and I don't know if you're aware of this, basically represents about 40% of our brain. And it's the part of the brain that we have developed as humans that allows us to create the world that we want. And it loves open-ended questions. So the more open-ended your question can be, so think of it like a CEO of a company that is now asked, how are we going to take this company from $100,000 a year to now $500,000 a year? And when you asked open-ended questions to your neocortex, what happens, or your frontal lobe, what happens now is your body, your brain and your frequencies now align with that intent. So say, for example, a lot of people don't have a clear intention. They say they want this and they want that, but I think I want this and I think I want that. I think I want to be a double, triple diamond, but I'm not sure if I want to do the work. I'm not sure if I can I don't think I can sell. They have all these different just muddled thinking, and we need a clear intent. When we have clear intent, think of a vibration going out. That's a clear intent. And what we need then is an emotion around that. And where do we get our emotion from? From ancient medicine, the heart center, the heart chakra is our emotional center. So we need to feel it from an emotional point of view. Think of it like when, say, depending upon your age, it might have been the first time you fell in love and you felt that heartfelt emotion, or the birth of your child, or the watching your first child go through and get married, for example, when you feel that love with intention, that's when we can compress time. That's when we can change things in our lives for the better. Main theme, though, as BK mentioned, it was a great analogy, BK, is the fruit that you have now. Yes, it might be nice, and it might not be nice either. I'm not sure, depending upon who you are and where your life is at this particular time. But that fruit was determined by what you did over the last 3 or 4 years. You can totally change the next 3 or 4 years. You can totally change the next 1 or 2 years by putting out different thoughts. So think of it like fall in love with your goals from your heart center. Fall in love with your dreams from your heart center. Fall in love with your why from your heart center. And when you have clear intent of what your goal is, what your dream is, what your why is, you're sending that out into the universe in a pattern of definiteness. And when you do that with a heartfelt emotion, your reality now changes, and fear of change is no longer. Fear of change disappears. Fear of change is dismissed, where your reality now changes and the fruit now changes as well. It's a lot plumpier, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot firmer. It's just totally different, totally different.
Yeah, exactly. And just to take the analogy of fruits and harvest and planting and so on, what Dr. Wayne is talking about, if you need to be very clear about your intent, it's kind of like a farmer. If you want melons, then you need to go to the store and buy melon seeds, and then you plant melon seeds, right? Or apples, let's say you want red apples, then you make sure you're planting red apples and not green apple seeds, correct?
Yeah.
So you need to be very clear about whatever you want. If this is what you want in the future, you need to be very clear. Otherwise, you will get fruits that you didn't want planted because you weren't clear. And so that is probably one of the simplest, easiest ways to think about this, if you want melon seeds, then obviously you should be planting melon seeds in your soil, and then you can expect melon seeds down the road. And again, I really like this statement that direction determines destination. And this is truly a superpower we have. Where we are today doesn't mean that we have to stay where we are. But if where we are today is not where we want to be, then by deciding a direction for the future, we can have absolute certainty that that is the destination we will arrive at. The only difference is how long it may take us to reach there, right? And that is something that we can, over the course of all these things that we're talking about, can help you to compress the time that takes you to reach that destination.
Yes, yeah, and I think it was Jim Rohn as well. I remember one of his statements was something like, some people buy an apple tree and they expect a pear to grow. And what happens, and that's literally a really good analogy of having no clear intent. So unfortunately, so many of us have no clear intent. Therefore, we're sending out a mixed vibration, and we're expecting we buy an apple seed and we expect a pear to grow. And that's a metaphor. There's a whole lot of different analogies I'm sure we could draw there, BK. Yeah. So the next bit you might be asking is, okay, how can we raise our vibration? What can we do to raise our vibration? Remember, what we're talking about is to have the dreams, have the goals, to achieve the dreams, achieve the goals, achieve the why, sending out law of attraction so it works for you. And remembering the way to do that is to raise your vibration. And it's specifically paying attention to the feeling in each moment and being very, very mindful of exactly what you want. So here's 5 things that you can do. In past episodes, we talked about smiling eyes. So number one is smile with your eyes. So just try it now. If you smile with your eyes, you'll actually find you'll be in the now directly. And I'm doing it now, and when I'm doing this, it's hard for me to actually talk. So when I'll get out of that. So when you do smiling eyes correctly, and you smile with your face, yes, and then you smile with your eyes, what you'll know, you'll be brought into the now, and that's where we need to be. That's where we need to be. We smile with our eyes. Secondly, we write down 7 things to be grateful for at the end of the day. So just write down 7 things you can be grateful for. The other thing then is, of course, our morning is the most impressionable time of our being. So the first thing to do is to meditate. First thing we should do. Then after meditation, maybe look up something in YouTube, read, do Audible, something positive to allow your brain to be set for the whole day. So think of it like in the morning, we're setting it, and in the evening, what we're doing now then is writing down 7 things to be grateful for. The other thing to do then is the interesting thing with nature is when you're near water, ocean, or you're in a rainforest or something like that, when the sunlight hits the ocean, for example, it makes ozone, O3. And this is a really important antioxidant that the body uses to de-stress. And the same happens when we're by any water or even when we're in nature. And this is why we feel so good when we're around nature. And I'm sure a number of you would agree that when we're in tall buildings and you've got the cars racing past and all the people racing around, you're not really feeling it. You're not really feeling relaxed. However, when you're in nature by water, by the ocean or a rainforest, something magical occurs, and that's mainly because of O3. And then the other thing then is while you're doing your smiling eyes, then state your affirmation. Have clear intent of your affirmation, staying in the now. And these are 5 ways you can then raise your vibration, helping you to now attract that which you may want, or that which you want into your life by using the 3rd immutable law that we've gone through, the 3rd immutable law, and looking at the law of attraction in helping us to achieve what we want in our life. And remembering the 3rd immutable law is around so I just got a mental block, is of course around the law of vibration.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you, Dr. Wayne. There was 5 ways. So just quickly recap: smiling eyes, get yourself in the center, in the now, right? And then at the end of the day, write down 7 things that you can be grateful for and gratitude. Number 3 is to start your day right with something uplifting, positive, motivational, whether is it on YouTube or a book or even an Audible, anything that can be positive and uplifting for you. Start your day right. And if you can, get near to nature, bodies of water, rainforests, and so on, that also can lift up your spirits and help you get into a very positive vibration. And last but not least, have some affirmations and do them with smiling eyes. That will be even better, right? So those are 5 ways that you can do this. And again, and that kind of nicely wraps up our episode for today. So again, we have show notes. If you do want to access our show notes, you can, and also our previously broadcast episodes, right? So we have archive episodes in this. So you can hit us up at networkmarketerpodcast.com. If you're watching the video, I put up the links below, networkmarketerpodcast.com. And at the same time, while we are doing this weekly podcast episodes, we do have a more extended program that we have gone into greater detail into some of these universal laws, the immutable ones as well as the mutable ones, what they actually mean to you and how you can access them to help you reach your destination in your network marketing career faster. You can find that at 5, yes, a numerical number 5, 5hiddenreasons.com numerical number 5, hiddenreasons.com. And this is where we talk about why most network marketers fail and why you do not have to. Okay.
Yes.
So with that, thank you for joining us for another interesting and enlightening episode. I always learn so much from Dr. Wayne. And of course, next week we will be back again at the regular time. And of course, please do remember to check out the other episodes. And one final request from you, from us to you, right? If you have found any of these things helpful at all for yourself, do us a favor. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it out to people. Let them know that there's content like this that can really help them in their growth as a network marketer. We want to bring value to the community. And we really believe and feel that this is one of the greatest, nicest, most amazing industries we can be in.
Very true. Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week.
And I'm just going to take us out with some music. Bye, everyone.
Yay. Bye, everyone.